Rain hammered the Chicago streets like bullets, turning the alley behind the financial district into a river of filth and desperation. U.C. Wu pulled his black Maserati to the curb, irritation flickering across his sharp features. His meeting had run late, and now the storm trapped him in traffic like some common nobody. Then he saw her. Between two dumpsters, a woman crouched over something precious, her body curved like a shield. Rain soaked through her thin jacket, plastered her hair to her skull, but she didn't move. She was feeding a baby, covering the infant with what looked like a trash bag to keep the child dry while she took the full assault of the weather. Siwoo's hand froze on the gearshift. He'd seen poverty before, seen desperation. Hell, he'd caused plenty of both. But something about the fierce tenderness in how she protected that baby, the way she whispered to the child, even as she shivered, it cracked something in his chest he'd thought died years ago. Against every instinct that had kept him alive in his world, he stepped out of the car. The rain was merciless. Zara Mitchell had stopped feeling the cold 20 minutes ago, which terrified her more than the numbness creeping through her fingers. She kept Hope tucked against her chest, wrapped in the only dry thing she had left, a garbage bag she'd found behind a restaurant. The baby needed to eat. Nothing else mattered. "Almost done, baby girl," she whispered, watching Hope's tiny mouth work at the bottle. Watered-down formula, half of what the label recommended. It would have to be enough. "Mama's got you." Hope's amber eyes, so much like Zara's own, gazed up at her with that heartbreaking trust only babies possessed. The trust that said Mama would fix everything. Mama always fixed everything. Except Zara couldn't fix this. 2 weeks on the streets. 8 months of watching her daughter's weight drop while her own milk dried up from stress and malnutrition. 3 days since their last real meal. The shelter had been full last night and the night before and the one before that. Social services had started asking questions at the last clinic visit. One more missed appointment and they'd take Hope. Over my dead body, Zara thought, pulling her daughter closer. "Excuse me." The voice cut through the rain, deep, controlled, with an edge that made Zara's survival instinct scream. She looked up, and her heart stopped. The man standing over her belonged in a different world. Tall, intimidatingly so, with a face carved from marble and eyes like black ice. His suit probably cost more than she'd made in 6 months at her old job. Rain darkened his perfectly styled hair, and as he shifted she caught a glimpse of something on his neck, a tattoo, a tiger's face, fierce and protective, emerging from his collar. Everything about him screamed danger. "I'm not prostituting," Zara said immediately, her voice hard despite the shaking, "and I'm not begging. So whatever you're thinking—" "I'm thinking," he interrupted quietly, "that you're going to get hypothermia, and that baby needs to be somewhere warm." Zara's jaw tightened. She'd heard every variation of this conversation. The concerned citizens who called the cops, the church people who wanted to save her soul, the creeps who saw an opportunity. She was done with all of them. "We're fine." "You're not." He pulled out his phone and Zara tensed. "I can take you to a hotel, get you a room for the night, food, whatever you need." "In exchange for what?" The words came out bitter. Nobody gave something for nothing. That was the first lesson Chicago had taught her. Something flickered in those cold eyes. Not offense. Something deeper, sadder. "Nothing," he said simply. "In exchange for nothing." Zara stared at him, studied the expensive watch on his wrist, the way he stood like he owned the ground beneath his feet, the barely visible bulge under his jacket that she recognized as a gun. This man wasn't a good Samaritan. Good Samaritans didn't carry weapons or wear suits that cost 5 figures, but Hope was shivering now, even wrapped in Zara's arms. The formula was almost gone, and Zara was so tired of being strong alone. "Why?" she asked. Siwoo looked at the baby, then back at Zara. For just a second, his expression softened into something almost human. "Because someone should," he said. 3 hours later, Zara sat in a suite at the Peninsula Hotel, staring at room service like it might disappear if she blinked. Grilled chicken, vegetables, bread, fruit. More food than she'd seen in weeks, and the man, he'd said his name was Simon, though she didn't believe that for a second, had ordered it like it was nothing. Hope was asleep in the bedroom, clean and warm in a hotel crib that management had brought up without question. The baby had cried when Zara put her down, but exhaustion won. Now her daughter slept like the child she deserved to be, safe and fed and dry. Zara's hands shook as she picked up a piece of chicken. "Eat slowly," Siwoo said from where he stood by the window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. "You'll make yourself sick otherwise." She wanted to snap at him, but he was right. Her stomach had shrunk. She forced herself to take small bites, even though every instinct screamed at her to devour everything in sight. "What do you want from me?" she asked finally. He turned, and in the warm light of the suite, she could see him clearly for the first time. Beautiful, in a dangerous way. Sharp jawline, perfect features, eyes that had seen too much. The tiger tattoo curved along his neck like a brand, intricate and unmistakably Korean in style. "I told you, nothing. Nobody does this for nothing. I'm not nobody." He moved away from the window, pulling out a chair across from her. "I'm someone who can help. That's all you need to know right now. You're a criminal." It wasn't a question. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Does that bother you?" It should. Zara knew it should, but she'd lost the luxury of moral high ground somewhere between losing her apartment and feeding her baby formula mixed with rainwater. "Depends on what kind of criminal." "The kind who keeps his word," Siwoo said. "You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out next steps. I can't pay you back. I didn't ask you to." Zara set down her fork, meeting his eyes directly. "Why are you doing this, really?" Siwoo was quiet for a long moment, then, "I watched you protect your daughter in that alley. You were freezing, starving, but you kept her dry, fed her before yourself. That kind of love." He paused, something flickering across his face. "That deserves protection. You don't know me." "I know enough." He stood, buttoning his jacket. "Get some rest. I'll be back in the morning." "Wait." Zara stood too, panic suddenly clawing at her throat. This was too good, too easy. Men like him didn't just help, they collected. "What happens in the morning?" Siwoo paused at the door, looking back at her. In that moment, Zara saw past the cold exterior to something else, something that understood pain. "In the morning," he said quietly, "you stop fighting alone." The door closed behind him with a soft click. Zara stood there, trembling, as something she hadn't felt in months bloomed painful and fragile in her chest. Hope. Siwoo didn't sleep that night. He sat in his penthouse office in the Gold Coast, staring at the background check his people had run on Zara Mitchell, 26 years old, born and raised on the South Side. No criminal record, no outstanding warrants. Former administrative assistant at a mid-level accounting firm until she was terminated 3 months ago for excessive absences. The reason for those absences was documented in medical records his hacker had pulled. Hope Mitchell had been hospitalized twice for respiratory infections. Zara had chosen her daughter over her job and lost everything because of it. "You're making a mistake, Young." Ji-hoon, Jimmy to everyone who wasn't Korean, stood in the doorway, arms crossed. His second-in-command wore his disapproval like a suit. "Getting involved with civilians. It never ends well. I'm aware of the risks." "Are you?" Jimmy moved into the office, his voice dropping. "The Italians are already pushing on our territory. The feds have been sniffing around our shipping operations, and now you want to add a woman and a baby to the mix? What happens when our enemies find out you care about them?" Siwoo's jaw tightened. "They won't. They will. They always do." Jimmy leaned against the desk. "I've known you since we were kids, Woo-ya, since before your father handed you this empire. And I've never seen you make a decision based on emotion. Don't start now. It's not emotion." But even as Siwoo said it, he knew it was a lie. Something about Zara's fierce eyes, about the way she'd stood between her daughter and the world with nothing but determination. It had reached past his carefully constructed walls. He'd built an empire on cold calculation, on being willing to do what others wouldn't. His father had taught him that emotion was weakness, that caring about anything made you vulnerable. But watching Zara in that alley, he'd remembered something else his father used to say. A man who protects nothing is no man at all. "Fine," Jimmy sighed, recognizing defeat. "What's the play?" "Set her up in one of our safe houses, the one in Lincoln Park. Make sure it has everything a baby needs. And when she asks questions, tell her the truth." Siwoo met his friend's eyes. "That I'm offering protection, no strings. She can leave whenever she wants. No one's going to believe that. They don't have to. She does." Zara woke to sunlight and the smell of fresh coffee. For one disoriented moment, she forgot where she was. Then Hope made a small sound from the crib and everything crashed back. The rain, the man, the sweet that cost more per night than she used to make in a week. She scrambled out of bed, checking on Hope first. Her daughter was awake, staring at her tiny hands with that serious expression babies got when discovering their own bodies. Clean, warm, safe. Zara's chest ached with gratitude and fear in equal measure. A knock at the door made her tense. She checked the peephole. It was him. Simon, Yu Siwoo, whatever his real name was. She opened the door. Good morning. He looked exactly as put together as the night before, though his shirt was different. White, with 4 buttons undone, revealing more of that tiger tattoo and a glimpse of his collarbones. May I come in? Zara stepped back, suddenly aware of how she must look. She'd slept in the hotel robe. Her hair was a disaster, and she probably had pillow marks on her face. Siwoo didn't seem to notice or care. He set a large bag on the table. Clothes for you and the baby. I guessed on sizes. How did you... I have people who handle these things. He said it like it was normal to have people who bought emergency clothing for strangers. There's also formula, diapers, and whatever else the store clerk thought a baby might need. Zara looked in the bag. Designer jeans, soft sweaters, a tiny pink dress for Hope that probably cost more than their weekly formula budget. Her throat tightened. I can't accept this. You already did, last night when you stayed. Siwoo moved to the window, giving her space. I have a proposition for you. There it was, the catch she'd been waiting for. I'm listening. I own a property in Lincoln Park, 3 bedrooms, fully furnished. It's currently empty. He turned to face her. You and Hope can stay there, rent-free, until you get back on your feet. Zara's heart hammered. In exchange for what? For letting me help you find a job, for accepting groceries and whatever else you need, for giving your daughter a safe place to grow up. His expression was unreadable. That's all. Why? The question burst out of her. You don't know us. We're nothing to you, so why are you doing this? Siwoo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. My mother came to America with nothing. My father built everything we have from the ground up, but he started in places like that alley. I grew up hearing stories about the people who helped them, the ones who gave them chances they didn't deserve. He paused. Maybe I'm paying forward a debt I can never really repay. It was a pretty story. Zara didn't believe a word of it, but she also didn't care, because Hope deserved better than garbage bags and rain, and if this dangerous man with empty eyes wanted to play savior, she'd let him. For now. Okay, she said, but I pay you back, every cent, when I can. Something flickered in his expression. Respect, maybe. Deal. The Lincoln Park townhouse was beautiful in a way that made Zara's chest hurt. Hardwood floors, modern kitchen, a nursery already set up with a crib and changing table and more baby supplies than Hope could use in a year. Siwoo's people had moved fast, almost suspiciously fast. How did you prepare all this overnight? Zara asked, holding Hope as she walked through the space. I told you I have people. Siwoo stood in the doorway watching them. The refrigerator is stocked. There's a laptop on the desk if you need to job hunt. And my number is programmed into the phone on the counter. Your people work miracles. They work efficiently. He pulled out a black credit card, setting it on the kitchen island. For emergencies, food, medical care, whatever you need. Zara stared at the card like it might bite her. I can't. You can. You will. His voice left no room for argument. Your daughter's health isn't negotiable. What do you get out of this? Zara demanded. Really? Because this, she gestured at the townhouse. This isn't normal charity, so what do you want? Siwoo held her gaze. I want you and Hope to be safe. That's all. Nobody's this generous. I'm not generous. He moved closer, and Zara caught the scent of his cologne. Something expensive and understated. I'm practical. You need help. I can provide it. The equation is simple. Nothing about you is simple. But Zara's arms ached from holding Hope, and the baby was starting to fuss, and God, she was so tired of fighting. Fine, but I'm getting a job, as soon as I can find childcare. There's a woman I know, Mrs. Kim. She raised me after my mother died. Siwoo's expression softened almost imperceptibly. She's trustworthy. I'll ask if she can help with Hope during the day. I can't afford a nanny. She'll do it for free. She's been complaining I don't give her enough to do since I moved out. Zara laughed, short and sharp. You really do have an answer for everything. I try. He moved toward the door, then paused. Zara. It was the first time he'd used her name. It sounded different in his mouth, careful and deliberate. Yeah, you're safe here. I promise you that. Their eyes met, and for a moment Zara saw past the cold exterior to something raw and honest. Whatever else this man was, criminal, killer, manipulator, he meant what he said. Okay, she whispered. I believe you. The door closed softly behind him, leaving Zara alone in a beautiful house with her daughter, and more questions than answers. But for the first time in months, Hope was warm and safe and fed. For now, that was enough. 3 weeks passed like a dream Zara kept waiting to wake from. Mrs. Kim turned out to be a tiny Korean grandmother, with steel in her spine and love in her hands. She showed up the second day with homemade kimchi and an authority that made arguing pointless. Within hours, she'd reorganized Zara's entire kitchen and had Hope giggling in her arms. "You eat," she commanded, pointing at the table where she'd laid out enough food for 5 people. "Too skinny. Baby needs strong mama." Zara wanted to protest, but Mrs. Kim's expression brooked no argument. So she ate, beef stew and rice and vegetables prepared with the kind of care that made her eyes sting. "Mr. Yu is good boy," Mrs. Kim said, settling Hope on her lap. "Cold outside, warm inside. Like Winter Tiger, you understand? I'm trying to." "You will," the old woman smiled. "He protects what he claims, and he claimed you." The words should have sounded possessive. Instead, they felt safe. Siwoo came by every few days, always with an excuse, checking on the house, bringing groceries Mrs. Kim had supposedly requested, making sure Zara had everything she needed. He never stayed long, never pushed for more than polite conversation, but his presence filled the space like smoke, lingering long after he left. Zara found a job at a local coffee shop. The pay was terrible, but the hours worked with Mrs. Kim's schedule, and the manager didn't ask questions about the gap in her resume. She was rebuilding, slowly, one shift at a time. She should have known it couldn't last. The man appeared on a Thursday night. Zara was walking home from work, enjoying the autumn air and the fact that she had a home to walk to. She was half a block from the townhouse when someone fell into step beside her. "Pretty nice setup you got here." Zara's heart lurched. The man was white, mid-30s, with the kind of smile that was all teeth and no warmth. His jacket bulged wrong. Weapon, her instincts screamed. "Excuse me?" "Lincoln Park townhouse, rent-free, designer clothes, all the groceries you can eat." His smile widened. "You Siwoo must really like you." Terror turned Zara's blood to ice. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you don't." He moved closer, and she smelled cigarettes and menace. "You know what Siwoo does for a living? The people he's killed, the businesses he's destroyed." He leaned in. "You're sleeping in a house paid for with blood money, sweetheart." "I'm not sleeping with him." The words burst out before Zara could stop them. "Not yet." The man's laugh was ugly. "But guys like Siwoo don't do charity. He wants something, and when he's done taking it, you and that baby are going to end up in a very dark place." Zara's hands trembled, but she kept her voice steady. "Who are you?" "Someone trying to save you." He pulled out a card. "Detective Marcus Hayes, Chicago PD. Siwoo is dangerous. He's using you for something. I can protect you and your daughter if you cooperate." "Cooperate how?" "Tell me what he's planning, where he goes, who he meets." Hayes's expression turned earnest, but his eyes stayed cold. "Help me put him away before he destroys your life." Everything in Zara recoiled. She'd grown up on the South Side. She knew what cooperating with cops meant. She knew how snitches ended up. But more than that, some instinct deep in her gut screamed that this man was more dangerous than Siwoo had ever been. "No," she stepped back. "Leave me alone. You're making a mistake. That's my choice." Hayes' face hardened. "Your choice affects your daughter. Think about that." He turned to leave, then paused. "Siwoo's enemies know about you now. Know about the baby. If you stay close to him, you're both targets. Consider that before you decide whose side you're on." He walked away, leaving Zara shaking on the sidewalk. She made it to the townhouse, locked every door, and called the number Siwoo had programmed into her phone. He answered on the first ring. "A cop approached me," Zara said without preamble. "Detective Hayes. He knows about the house, about Hope, about you." Silence, then, "Are you home?" "Yes." "Lock the doors. I'm 5 minutes away." He made it in 3. Siwoo's expression when he arrived was colder than Zara had ever seen. "Tell me everything." He stood in her living room like he owned it, and for the first time Zara saw the Mafia boss everyone else feared. No softness, no warmth, just lethal focus. She recounted the conversation, watching Siwoo's jaw tighten with each word. "Hayes isn't a real detective," he said when she finished. "He's on the Vitelli family payroll, Italian mob." His eyes met hers. "He approached you because they know you're connected to me." "Why do they care?" "Because we've been moving into their territory. They've been looking for leverage." Siwoo's voice went quiet, deadly. "And now they think they found it." Zara's chest tightened. Hope is safe. I'll make sure of it. He pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. I'm putting guards on the house. You and the baby don't go anywhere without protection. I can't live like that. You don't have a choice. He looked up, and for the first time Zara saw fear in those cold eyes. Fear for her. They threatened you because they want to hurt me. That makes you a target. Then maybe I should leave. The words hurt to say, but Zara forced them out. Maybe Hope and I should disappear before this gets worse. No. The word cracked like a whip. You think I'll let you go back to the streets? Let you and Hope starve because someone else decided to use you against me? He moved closer, and Zara's breath caught. I protect what's mine, and you're mine now, whether you like it or not. The possessive words should have angered her. Instead, they kindled something warm and terrifying in her chest. I'm not yours. I'm not anyone's. Then let me rephrase. Saiwoo's voice gentled, but his eyes stayed fierce. You're under my protection. That means when someone threatens you, they threaten me, and I don't let threats stand. What are you going to do? Whatever I have to. He turned away, jaw tight. I shouldn't have involved you in this. I knew the risks, and I did it anyway. Why? Zara grabbed his arm, spinning him back. Why did you help me that night, really? Siwoo looked at her hand on his arm, then at her face. Something cracked in his expression. Because I was 17 when my mother died. She got sick, and we didn't have insurance, and my father was working 3 jobs, but it wasn't enough. I watched her fade away because no one would help. His voice roughened. I swore that if I ever had power, I'd never let someone else's mother suffer when I could stop it. Zara's breath caught. I'm not your mother. No, you're stronger. He pulled away gently. My mother gave up. You're still fighting. That's worth protecting. They stood there in the dim light of the townhouse, and Zara felt the shift, the moment where this stopped being charity and became something else, something dangerous and inevitable. What happens now? She whispered. Now? Siwoo's smile was sharp and cold. Now I remind the Vitellis why people fear the name you, Siwoo. The next morning, Mrs. Kim arrived with an overnight bag and an expression that meant business. I stay here now, she announced, setting her bag down. Until safe. Mrs. Kim, you don't have to... Siwoo called, explained. The old woman's face was stern. I raised that boy, I know what he does. Also know he never protects someone unless they special. Her gaze softened. You special. Baby special. So I stay. Zara's throat tightened. Thank you. No thank. This is family. Mrs. Kim bustled toward the kitchen. Now, I teach you make kimchi jjigae. Good for cold weather. Good for worried heart. Family. The word echoed in Zara's chest. She hadn't had family since her grandmother died 5 years ago. Hadn't had someone to rely on. Someone who showed up when things got hard. But here was this tiny Korean woman, reorganizing her life with the same efficiency she reorganized kitchens. And here was Siwoo, putting guards on her door and declaring protection like it was non-negotiable. Zara didn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. She saw the guards when she left for work that evening. 2 men in dark suits, one at each end of the block, trying and failing to be inconspicuous. When she walked past, they nodded respectfully. At the coffee shop, her manager pulled her aside. Hey, Zara, those guys outside, they with you? Her stomach dropped. What guys? 2 men. Been sitting in a car across the street for an hour. Her manager's expression was worried. They're not causing trouble, but should I call the cops? No. The word came out too sharp. Zara softened her voice. No, they're friends, just making sure I get home safe. Her manager didn't look convinced, but nodded. Okay, but if you need help, I'm fine, I promise. She wasn't fine. She was trapped in something she didn't understand, protected by a man whose world she didn't belong in, dependent on kindness that came with invisible strings. But Hope was safe, fed, warm, thriving under Mrs. Kim's care in ways that made Zara's heart ache with relief and regret. Her daughter was finally getting what she deserved, and if Zara had to dance with devils to keep it, she would. The question was, which devil was worse? Siwoo, who'd saved them but pulled them into danger, or the Vitellis, who wanted to use them as weapons? The answer came 3 nights later. Zara was closing the coffee shop when the power cut out. Her manager cursed, fumbling for his phone flashlight, but Zara's instincts screamed danger. She moved toward the back exit, already pulling out her phone to text Siwoo. She didn't make it. 3 men blocked the back door. Not Siwoo's men. She'd learned to recognize his people by the way they moved, efficient and controlled. These men were different, cruder, more violent in their body language. "Zara Mitchell?" The one in front smiled. "Mr. Vitelli wants to talk to you. I have nothing to say to him." "That's cute." He moved forward, and Zara's manager stepped between them. "Hey," she said, "no. You need to leave before I call the police." The man's smile never wavered. "Sure thing." He pulled out a gun and shot her manager in the leg. Zara screamed, rushing forward, but hands grabbed her from behind. A cloth pressed against her face, chemical sweet and suffocating. She fought, kicked, tried to bite, but darkness swallowed her whole. She woke in a warehouse. Classic movie villain location, some hysterical part of her brain noted. Concrete floors, metal walls. Single chair in the middle of the space where they'd tied her hands behind her back. All that was missing was the dramatic spotlight. "You're awake." "Good." The man who spoke was older, 50-something, with grey in his hair and blood on his hands, metaphorically and probably literally. He wore an expensive suit and a smile that made Zara's skin crawl. "I'm Anthony Vitelli," he said pleasantly, "and you're going to help me send a message to Yu Si Wu." "Go to hell." Vitelli laughed. "I like you." "God spirit." He pulled over another chair, sitting across from her. "Here's the situation. Si Wu's been a thorn in my side for months, taking my territory, disrupting my operations, acting like he owns this city." His expression hardened. "I can't kill him. Too much heat, too many consequences. But I can hurt him. By hurting me." Zara's voice was steadier than she felt. "By showing him that nothing he cares about is safe. That protection only lasts until I decide it doesn't." Vitelli leaned forward. "I'm going to beat you, not too much, don't want permanent damage. Just enough to mark you up, make you scream a little. Then I'm going to send you back to him with a message. Stay in your lane, or next time I take something he can't get back." Terror clawed at Zara's throat, but she kept her face blank. "You touch me, he'll kill you." "Maybe. Probably." Vitelli shrugged. "But the damage will be done. He'll know he can't protect everyone, can't save everyone. That's the lesson. What about my daughter? The baby?" Vitelli's smile turned cruel. "She's safe. For now. But if Si Wu doesn't back off? Well, kids are surprisingly easy to make disappear." White-hot rage replaced Zara's fear. "You threaten my daughter again, and I'll kill you myself. There's that spirit." Vitelli stood, rolling up his sleeves. "Let's see how long it lasts." He raised his hand. The warehouse door exploded inward. Si Wu walked through the smoke like an avenging angel, and for the first time Zara saw him for what he truly was. Death incarnate. 4 men moved with him, including Jimmy, who held an automatic rifle like an extension of his arm. Si Wu himself only carried a handgun, but the way he held it, the cold fury in his expression, made it clear he didn't need more. "You made a mistake, Anthony," Si Wu said quietly. Vitelli's men drew weapons. Si Wu's men responded in kind. The warehouse became a Mexican standoff, with Zara tied in the middle. "Did I?" Vitelli grabbed Zara's hair, yanking her head back and pressing a knife to her throat. "Looks like I got exactly what I wanted. You, desperate and stupid." Si Wu's gaze flicked to Zara. She saw something crack in his expression, the cold control he wore like armor splintering to reveal the rage beneath. "Let her go," he said, "and I'll make your death quick. No deal." The knife bit into Zara's skin, and she felt hot blood trickle down her throat. "You're going to walk out of here. Take your men. Forget about the territory. Forget about this girl. Or I'll gut her while you watch." Zara's eyes met Si Wu's. She saw him calculating, weighing options, running scenarios. She saw the moment he decided. She also saw the moment he lied. "Fine," Si Wu said, lowering his weapon. "You win." Vitelli laughed. "Smart boy. Just let her go first. Once she's safe, I'll leave." "You think I'm stupid?" Vitelli's grip tightened. "She leaves with you, insurance. Then we're at an impasse." Zara saw the plan forming, saw it in the slight shift of Jimmy's position, in the way Si Wu's fingers adjusted on his gun. They were going to rush, going to try to save her, and people were going to die. She couldn't let that happen. "Si Wu," she said clearly. "Hope. Take care of Hope." Then she threw herself backward, slamming her head into Vitelli's face. The knife sliced deeper, pain exploded across her throat, but Vitelli's grip loosened. Si Wu moved, faster than Zara's eyes could track. One shot, center mass. Vitelli went down. Then chaos. Gunfire, shouting, bodies hitting concrete. Zara couldn't track it all through the pain and blood and terror. She felt hands on her, thought for a second it was another attacker, then heard Si Wu's voice. "I've got you. Stay with me." Her vision blurred. The world tilted. But Siwoo's arms were solid and real, and his voice kept pulling her back from the dark. "You're okay. You're safe. I've got you." Zara believed him. She passed out believing him. Zara woke in a bedroom she didn't recognize. Silk sheets, massive windows overlooking Lake Michigan, furniture that cost more than she'd make in 5 years. The stitches in her throat pulled when she swallowed, and her whole body ached. But she was alive. "You're awake." She turned her head, too fast, pain lancing through her, and found Siwoo sitting beside the bed. He looked terrible. Still in the same clothes from the warehouse, now stained with blood. Hers, she realized. His perfect hair was disheveled, and his eyes were bloodshot. "How long?" Her voice came out rough, damaged. 30 hours. The knife nicked your jugular but missed the major vessels. You're lucky." His jaw tightened. "Or I'm lucky. Because if you died, I didn't. Because you threw yourself at a man with a knife." Siwoo's voice cracked. "What were you thinking? That if someone was going to die, it should be me, not you." Zara tried to sit up, and Siwoo immediately moved to help her, adjusting pillows with surprising gentleness. "Where's Hope?" "With Mrs. Kim in the next room. She's fine, healthy, asking for you in her baby way." Relief flooded through Zara. "Vitelli, dead. His men who grabbed you are dead. The threat is neutralized." Siwoo's expression was flat, emotionless in that way that meant he was feeling too much. "You're safe now, because you killed for me. I'd kill the world for you." The words were simple, true, terrifying. "I told you, I protect what's mine. I'm not yours, aren't you?" Siwoo leaned forward, and Zara caught the scent of him, gun oil and cologne and something uniquely him. "You risked your life to give me a clear shot. You trusted me to save you. You're in my home sleeping in my bed because you're too injured to move. If that's not mine, what is?" Zara's heart hammered. "You're a criminal, a killer. Yes. You've destroyed lives. Yes. I should hate you. Probably." His hand came up, fingers barely brushing her cheek. "Do you?" Zara looked at him, really looked. At the exhaustion in his eyes, the blood on his clothes, the way his hand trembled slightly against her face. This man had torn apart a warehouse full of armed men to save her, had sat by her bedside for 30 hours, protected her daughter like his own. "No," she whispered. "I don't hate you." Something blazed in Siwoo's expression. "Then what do you feel?" Zara didn't have words for it, with a complicated tangle of gratitude and fear and something warmer, something that had been building since that first night in the rain. So instead of speaking, she reached up and pulled him down into a kiss. Siwoo froze for half a heartbeat. Then he kissed her back, gentle at first, careful of her injuries, but with an intensity that stole her breath. His hand cupped the back of her head, his thumb stroking her jaw, and Zara felt something break open in her chest. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Siwoo rested his forehead against hers. "I can't promise you a normal life," he said quietly. "Can't promise safety or peace or any of the things you deserve. But I can promise that as long as I'm breathing, no one will ever hurt you or Hope again." "That's a dangerous promise. I'm a dangerous man." His lips curved into something that was almost a smile. "Is that a yes?" Zara thought about the streets, about feeding Hope in the rain, about the cold and hunger and fear. Then she thought about Mrs. Kim's kimchi, and this beautiful room, and the way Siwoo looked at her daughter, like Hope was precious, worth protecting, worth everything. "Yes," she said. "It's a yes." 3 months later, Zara stood in the kitchen of the Gold Coast penthouse that had somehow become home. She'd moved in a month ago, partially for safety, partially because Siwoo had simply refused to let her leave. The townhouse became a guest property. This became theirs. Hope was crawling now, pulling herself along the expensive hardwood floors, while Mrs. Kim followed with encouraging coos in Korean. Siwoo sat at the counter, laptop open, managing his empire while simultaneously making sure Hope didn't eat anything she shouldn't. It was domestic in a way that should have been bizarre. A mafia boss playing father, a single mother learning to trust, a found family built on violence and protection, and something that felt dangerously close to love. "You're thinking too much," Siwoo said without looking up. "Someone has to think in this relationship. We're in a relationship now?" He glanced up and the warmth in his eyes made her heart skip. "What else would you call it?" "Permanent." He stood, moving around the counter to pull her into his arms. "Inevitable. Mine. Possessive. Always." He kissed her temple, gentle despite the tiger on his neck that marked him as dangerous. "Is that a problem?" Zara looked at Hope, who was showing Mrs. Kim a toy with the serious expression of someone sharing great wisdom. Looked at this life they'd built from rain and desperation and impossible choices. "No," she said, leaning into Sai Wu's warmth. "That's not a problem at all." 1 year later, Hope took her first steps in the living room of their new house. Not a townhouse, not a penthouse, but something in between, something that felt like family. Siwoo caught her when she stumbled, lifting her up with a laugh Zara never got tired of hearing. The cold, dangerous man she'd met in that alley was still there, would always be there. But he'd thawed for them, this little family he'd claimed and protected and loved. "Look, Mama!" Hope shrieked, reaching for Zara. "Walk!" "I saw, baby girl." Zara pulled her daughter close, breathing in the scent of baby shampoo and joy. "You're so brave." "Like her mother," Siwoo said, wrapping his arms around both of them. Mrs. Kim took a photo from the doorway, grumbling about how they needed to preserve these moments. Jimmy stood beside her, holding up a tiny pink dress that his wife had made for Hope's birthday next month. This was family, strange and dangerous, and built on foundations that would horrify most people, but it was theirs. Zara's phone buzzed, a reminder about her online college courses. She'd started working toward a business degree, something Siwoo had insisted on funding. "You're brilliant," he'd said. "You should have opportunities." Hope babbled something, and Siwoo responded in Korean, teaching her both languages, both heritages. Their daughter would grow up knowing where she came from, all the parts of her identity. "What are you thinking?" Siwoo asked, his lips against her hair. Zara looked at their reflection in the window, a Korean man with a tiger tattooed on his neck, a black woman with hope in her eyes, a mixed baby who represented impossible love. "I'm thinking about rain," she said, "and how sometimes the worst nights lead to the best mornings." Siwoo's arms tightened. "No more rain, I promise. Some rain is okay." Zara turned in his embrace. "It helped me find you." He kissed her then, soft and sweet, while Hope giggled between them, and Mrs. Kim shouted at them to stop being inappropriate in front of the baby. Outside, Chicago rain began to fall, gentle this time, cleansing rather than cruel. Inside, they were warm and safe and whole. A family born from desperation and choice, and the strange alchemy that happens when someone decides you're worth protecting. Zara had lost everything in the rain, and found everything in a man with a tiger's heart.